Right? I was talking about Conan O'Brien just started a podcast. It's really funny, actually. He's got some really cool guests.
So I'm going to ask you, there's two options, and I'm just going to say the first one, but it's not going to work very well, and that's to speak louder.
Okay.
Nobody ever does,
Yeah.
right?
They always intend to.
They always intend to, so you just want to be really intimate with the mic.
Oh, okay.
And you probably want to be about this close.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that'll actually get you in the game too.
This one's a little, it's just for some reason, I don't know much about this stuff, but for some reason.
Those ones are different. Yeah.
Yeah, these ones pick up a bit better.
Yeah.
They're stronger.
I won a Yeti, a blue something Yeti. And
we used those at first.
I tried it, and it didn't turn out as well as this old camera that I've got, a Logitech 520, and the sound that thing picks up, it's amazing. So
you can actually get some cool little, just like phone mics.
Yeah,
you plug it in, it has a thing on there.
Yeah, I got one of those as well.
But this, when I do the Zoom recordings, I mean the recordings that I get are fine for me. So I have to figure out how
they're fine for me. Yeah, they're fine.
Well, and for the people that I record for, I don't know when I want to start putting that stuff on my website, how it'll be.
Right.
And I'm practicing coming back to the mic here.
I use this.
You're actually coming in pretty good, so no worries.
This cost me $14. It's a really cool little, I think it's a 9-foot cord. It's a lapel mic.
Yeah.
Plug it in your phone, your computer, whatever.
Yeah, actually, I did get one of those.
Yeah, those.
Just before I won the Blue Yeti, because I wanted to try it.
Yeah.
And in fact, the first time I used it was when I was doing a presentation at Call, and I was doing the slide presentation and stuff, and I said, well, I'm going to record it, see what happens. And then people said, well, do we have to take notes? You're going to give us the slides? I said, yeah, I'll give you the slides. After I got home and got the recording, got it all synced up. And actually, I didn't have to sync anything because they couldn't see me talking. They could just see the slides.
Right.
And
that makes it easy.
I just combined it. And I go, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Good stuff.
So I'm just playing with all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Just playing.
Hey, man, that's
cool.
Well, you know about play at creation, right?
Well, we're going to talk all about that.
We're going to find out a bit about that.
Don't you worry.
That's why you're here.
So I'm not really sure where Wakefield is at.
He hasn't answered yet.
Well, don't worry. I have nowhere to be today.
Okay.
So we can wait.
Yeah, we'll just. I'd like him to be there at the beginning instead of just disrupting it, kind of coming in. That's always doesn't always work very well.
And normally we're just slightly fancier because we actually have an audio engineer as part of our team, which is really exciting.
What does the audio engineer do?
I have no idea.
He engineers the audio.
Is he tweaking?
Yeah, he'll actually be listening and tweaking while we're talking, and then he helps us with the edit.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a mixer there that brings in both all four of the mics, if all four mics are active, and he manages the levels.
Okay.
And then he'll produce the podcast at the end of it. So how it goes here, typically, at least on Saturdays, we have our guests come in if there is a guest. Well, regardless, we record the podcast, and then that usually goes on for podcasts go for about 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's what we're working towards anyways. Yeah. We love to talk.
Give or take, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And then we'll listen to it again and take down notes. Aaron is also listening to it and putting it together, making whatever edits he needs on the audio side, and then we'll publish it. So we're actually doing it all in one session.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever re-record, for instance, if there's a piece you wanted to talk about and it didn't come across well, revisit that?
We always have the best intention to revisit, and then it's just whether it's top of mind. Buddy.
What we've been able to do is, how you doing, man? Good. Let's see, bud. Congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, for hitting
this guy's a 100% scorer on all of his final exams.
I'm Wakefield Brewster.
John.
Pleasure to meet you. How are you, John?
What exams?
I'm studying being RNT. This is orthopedic assessment exam, practical exams.
Oh, okay.
So you have an examiner, you have a person being the body. The examiner answers as if they're the body. They give you all the symptoms, you have to go through a history. You have to know a history and blah, 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 blah. And whatever they tell you, you start narrowing down what the problem is.
Right.
So I got pronator teres, this muscle here. I got pronator teres syndrome. Your pronator teres, in this right-handed world, all handymen who use screwdrivers and such, they get this disease. Only right-handed men, because it's a right-handed world. So screwing in, the pronator teres is meant to do this. You're doing this all day long. So you are stretching it. The other thing is, the pronator teres has two heads, like this. Your median nerve runs through it. So every time you keep doing that, it squeezes this nerve, squeezes this nerve, squeezes this nerve. So you have to listen to what they do. And I found out she's a florist in her occupation, and it had this, and right there I said, okay.
So what you're saying is, if I'm taking screws out, I'm
You're
okay.
fine.
That's fine.
But if I'm putting screws in, we're in trouble.
More or less. We put them in more than we take them out.
All right.
Especially if you're building
We do
stuff,
we do generally put them in more than we take them out.
And
take 'em out.
what would I need to fix if I'm getting tingles in these fingers?
Then you have an impingement in your radial
Shoulder.
nerve. It starts your radial nerve.
Okay.
It starts from your brachial plexus, right where your shoulder is.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a median nerve, ulnar nerve, and radial nerve, and that's your radial nerve, and it handles those fingers right there. Numbers 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And median is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and ulnar is 4 and 5.
And so
Well,
how
5
should I
and
fix
half
it?
of 4.
Just do more weights?
No, you should stop doing that, because the reason you have tingling is because you have a nerve compression.
Okay.
So somewhere in between your shoulder and
Yeah.
down, there's a compression of the nerves that's probably
in
could be
here
muscular, could be
Well,
just
if that
damage.
if that's the issue, though, and I'm not a doctor, but that couldn't that also happen
Well,
from
that's the remnant.
other medical things like
something that I
Sure, if he had
Okay.
if you had an injury up to that shoulder area, then it damaged the brachial plexus.
Oh, I guess if it was another problem, like
Yeah.
some kind of a blood sugar thing, it wouldn't be just those fingers. Would
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And like,
That's
two of the
systematic.
doctors that I went to said,
so the whole
it's
body
just
would
old
feel it,
age.
not just part.
Right, that's
Right.
Correct.
Interesting. Very cool. Wow.
Yeah, I got exams all the way to the 18th. So
Wow, I'm
So,
so glad.
what, is this it? Finish the exams now, and then you go.
My exams are to the 18th, and then I'm done with orthopedic assessment, written and practical. I'm done with. I've learned a bunch of techniques in advanced neuromuscular therapy. That will go all the way until April. A bunch of new things start after December.
Oh, okay.
But I'm getting through orthopedic assessment, and I'm getting through practical, and I think, yeah, we're done. And I also did, what do I have next week? Cupping and myofascial, pardon me, I mispronounced that, myofascial release. I just got 100 on my hospital exam as well, learning how to massage around catheters and
Yeah.
IVs and
Oh,
flipping people with wires attached to them and stuff like that. So,
You're a stud,
It's-
Wake.
well, they say massage therapists, right?
I would
We're
love.
not masseuses, we're massage therapists.
I would love to. Maybe you should come with me sometime to visit my friend Mike at the Fanning Center.
At the what?
At the Fanning Center,
I don't know the Fanning Center.
he's it's like long-term care.
Really?
Yeah.
That is awesome, because one of the untapped places that I have found an interest is working with people who are in distress and geriatric. I mean, these people in the golden years and going out of life get very lonely in a lot of ways, and we forget that it's physical. We forget just that easy touch, that just connection like that does a lot for people in these
Huge.
years. Hospice, that's a really, you have to be a certain type of person, of course, to be able to handle that environment.
Totally.
It's not one that's for the faint of heart, because you know what's involved, right? This is making someone comfortable on the way out.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great big. I think I'd like to help people like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I could do it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
I
that.
don't know if I could do it, right? Because I think I might take on too much. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think I'd like to be that person to, gentle
Yeah.
you out.
this will be a good chat for you.
I beg your pardon?
See, this will be a good chat for you.
Oh, will it?
Yeah, it will.
They usually are. No, I think that's great, man. I have that situation sometimes where I have conversations with people, and then I can actually feel myself feeling the stress. I'm like, okay, I got to stay present here, stay
Yeah.
grounded, so that I can
Oh, actually, you're
You know-
pretty present and pretty grounded. Oh, more so than
be
you
in
know.
it with you. I'm not going to support you if I'm in it with you.
You know.
So, what do you do that you are getting into those circumstances?
Yeah, so I'm in financial services.
Okay.
But I specialize in helping people create alternative cash flow systems to the commercial banking system.
Okay.
That's my specialty, and insurance. So that's where I reside. But those conversations a lot of times are the only way to make a difference is to get into that at all. That's what I believe. I think that people, doesn't matter if it's money or whatever it is, but we're usually solving a problem we think we have as opposed to a problem or the thing that we actually want. It's like the thing on the surface. So I think it takes a certain level of
there's nobody here.
vulnerability to connect with people and get past all the noise to what really matters underneath.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm studying, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Learning how to get stronger at that, and I think this has actually contributed quite a bit to that.
Good.
Just being able to, because I like to talk, in case you haven't noticed.
What?
So just being able to give some other people some room, you know?
Okay, so in terms of levels, we're doing pretty good.
If you're going to be a bit louder, get a little bit further away from
I'm
the
not
mic.
going to remember that.
Okay, then I'll just tell you.
Then you just say, John, you don't
John,
get so excited. Back off.
get the mic out of your mouth, man.
You can just apologize to listeners as John's like yelling into the mic.
Well, and same with this guy. If he drops another one of his pieces,
Oh,
I mean, it'll be easy for me to go manage it, I suppose. But he gets pretty loud. Have you listened to any of the podcasts, any of the recent ones, any of them at all?
When I found out the name.
You looked for you found the wrong one.
Go, oh, okay. So and then Wakefield was doing a talk like you had done, I guess.
Yes.
I go, okay, so interesting.
Similar but different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is a slam poet. He's actually won multiple championships
Really?
nationally.
And okay,
He is
why is he doing this other stuff then?
to
I
make
suppose
money.
You can't make a living doing slam.
He is. You can, and this is one of the things that we're helping him with.
Okay.
So in being known, being heard, he doesn't really know how to do that. He has his talent, which is speaking and talking about certain things, right, with the spoken word. But in terms of marketing yourself,
Right.
in the brass tacks of it all, he's like, he gave us a CD and a business card. He's like, this is me. In the world of digital, that's what he has, right?
Yeah.
And he just doesn't know any better. So he loves being in front of a mic. It's been a really great contribution to the conversations that we're having. Mm-hmm. We're going to host an event at Theatre Grand, a performance poetry event, which he will be a part of. Setting up and performing and bringing people. So inside of being known, these are the things that are coming out.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting. This has become a platform. This is much more than just a podcast. This is it's a fledgling media company in a lot of ways. Podcast is one medium that we've been exploring that had us dip our toes in and start to play. I want to be able to do documentaries, whatever medium can effectively tell the stories that we're uncovering and looking to tell. I want to be able to do that.
Okay.
So the podcast will be a staple like throughout because it's part of the roots of it all. And we've got about I'd say there's 11 people that are playing with us in all various capacities, strengths, skill sets, whether it's web related or social media related or video, audio related. Everybody's just I'm really looking for those that have the niche, be like, I can take that and I can own it. Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to take it and own it because I'm excited about what's going on here. And so far it's worked really well. Aaron is just like normally here Thursdays, Saturdays, no question. Just does it, loves to do it because he loves audio. He just wanted something to play with, right? So normally that would have been me doing all that stuff.
I'm just wondering if, so I started learning ukulele this year.
Oh, nice.
And through call, there is a ukulele group. And there's about 40 of us now that get together for the uke jams on Saturdays. They put together a ukulele festival this past June. I know how much work that is, so I've offered to help them for next year. So next September, 14th and 15th, there'll be the second Uke Fest.
Nice.
And we'll have a couple of instructor performers from Australia, Manitoba Hal from Nova Scotia. Yeah, I think he was in Manitoba and then moved out there.
He's got to rebrand himself.
Well, he's been known as Manitoba Hal for so long.
Yeah, totally.
And then there's another Italian fella, young guy, who reached out to us. We just have to see if he can teach. He can perform really well, but can he teach? And so one of the things we'll have during that ukulele festival is we'll have the theaters in at Sea Space. The two theaters at one. So we're gonna have that open all the 2 days.
Oh, that's great.
I'm looking to fill stuff in there, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be interesting to talk to Mark and Jane, Manitoba Hal, Danilo, if he happens to be the one, about this ukulele phenomenon that's happening, because it seems to be just happening everywhere.
One of the things that we're exploring, we're not sure what it looks like at all in any way, is live podcasting. Mm-hmm. So actually bringing the podcast studio to an event and then doing having those types of conversations, right? Yeah. So those types of things are definitely on our radar. And at the very least, they come into the podcast and like this studio and talk about it before a show or something. Yeah. I think that would be super fun. Who'd have thought, right? And ukulele, when it's done well, is very catchy, therapeutic. It is a really interesting instrument. And don't judge a book by its cover or by its size or any of that, right? Like, you're pleasantly surprised.
Oh, and the guys who really know how to play this stuff, Jake Shamubakura or something, guy from Hawaii, James Hill, who's was out of Vancouver, I think, he's someplace else now. But anyway, the stuff those guys can do on the ukulele is amazing. Of course, for us, I mean, it's just strum, fill the whole song with just noise rather than breaking it down and being quiet and so on. But it'll come.
Yeah. Well, there's like anything, there's a finesse to it. Yeah. You got to get in, get messy at the beginning, and be okay with being messy at the beginning. When we first started this, as a prime example, we did not have any of this. This is a byproduct of coming up to 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So and constantly elevating it, right? Like this really comes from my drive to just always be elevating what it is that we're doing. And we played on a Yeti. That was it. It was Vern and I just out on the table over there, and we were just shooting the shit. I mean, we were always shooting the shit. I mean, that's a core component of this podcast. It's never staged or rehearsed or any of that. But to create an environment, an atmosphere, an energy where people feel comfortable, ready to whatever it is, they're just ready for it.
And let it flow.
Yeah. And there's been so many, all sorts of levels of readiness, whether we were present to it or not. Some were super nervous and we had no idea. We weren't really, we would just get into it, right? Vern and I, we were used to it and we just get into it. And some people were really grappling with everything that was going on in the microphones, and that's no longer a thing for us anymore. So we don't ever think about it. So one of the key critical pieces is 15, 20 minutes of just
chat,
getting related. Yeah. And then the podcast starts. And with that, doing it that way, you allow people to get out of their own way and be with the conversation versus stuck with the conversation up here of trying to get it right.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, which I think I've gotten over that because I've run a mastermind group for about a year and we use Zoom. So we started off with about 10, we've got 8 now. And so every week we would get together and just talk and you get used to it. I mean, you forget about the camera and so on. In fact, I've got it set up now so that my big screen, I use a laptop, so the big screen is there. My camera is right in front of it, so it looks like when I'm talking to people that I'm looking directly at them.
Yeah, that's always nice.
And we just chat. And before coming here, one of the things I did to prepare for this was listen to again a conversation that I had with one of my mastermind group members, talking about some of the stuff that I'll probably share with you guys.
Yeah.
Really asking her, well, do you think this is too much information to share with people? And it brought her to tears. Okay, well, and that's why I wanted to check to say, well, is this too much to share? Because for some people, it would be. And typically I find that the stuff that I do share with people when it's one-on-one, we'll have a really good conversation and people will get it, because I can look in your eyes, I can look at your face to see if you don't understand something I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
When you just put it out there written, or you put a snippet out on video, you cannot address the misunderstandings or whatever from the person who's consuming that.
The interpretations and you can't always address the misinterpretation. Sometimes there comes a time to just put it out and let it be in the world, right?
Which is what I'm doing now. So,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is what it is.
And there's something really magical about just doing that, putting it out in the world. Most times, it will surprise you. The thing that you think it might do versus the reality of what it actually does are very different from each other. Most times. And it's just an allowing and letting go.
No. Yeah. The glass, like, drop this out. No case, nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, snap.
So, Diva, did you get your coffee?
I thank you in this household.
If somebody dropped your cell phone, like, how would that be for you?
So a person comes up to you on the street. They might be in survival mode. This is the scene that I saw. And I could tell that the gentleman was reluctant to hand over it was one of those large ones. So it was an iPhone something big, or one of the Samsung big phones. And, he wanted to be kind. You can see
somebody he didn't know.
Someone kind of sketchy looking, a little disheveled, looking a little bit in survival mode, as I said. And it's at City Hall. And that's where a lot of that survival mode exists. And, I'm watching it happen. And the phone's about this big. It's a big one. And he takes it and he's kind of, that kind of handover, like, I don't want to do this.
Begrudgingly.
Don't run with my phone. Because that's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
I'd have my leg ready to just like...
But I look at the dude and I'm like, he looks like he's in shape. Like, I'm doing the assessment.
He'll catch him if he runs.
He'll catch him. He takes the phone. Not word of a lie.
Oh.
Just the phone. No OtterBox.
No protection.
If I drop it, I'm okay with it. Like, I can deal with that. I've done it a couple
you
times.
drop it.
Somebody else,
Yeah.
especially somebody I didn't want to give it to. But then again, I probably wouldn't have given it to them. But
Yeah, I don't think I would have given it to them.
It's too,
Hindsight too, right? Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, gents.
Hello.
Sorry for keeping you waiting.
It's
Yes,
all
I
good.
am
Do you
sorry.
have what you need?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah? All right, awesome. So we'll have, I'd say, about 30 minutes. And
Good timing.
all right, cool. Okay, so let's start this. Welcome to episode 52 of the Just Life podcast. And we have another guest on the show, John Orian, founder of Play at Creation and Your Venture, Your Game. His biggest challenge, making something happen when he doesn't really have to. Now, I don't know if anybody else can relate to that statement. I sure can relate to that statement. He has a mission, though, and his mission is to spread a very important message, that we are all here to play and create. You heard right. You're here, those who are listening, to play and create cool shit. This message, this is my interpretation of it. This message is indeed for everyone. And he's talking to you boomers out there specifically. Yes, I'm talking to you who rejected and redefined traditional values, you who some considered the wealthiest, most active, and most physically fit generation ever, you who were the most optimistic that the world would improve with time, you who experienced the events like Beatlemania and Woodstock, organized rallies against the Vietnam War, and bought the world a Coke. You who were the first to grow up with television, you who effectively brought mass consumerism into existence, don't know how I feel about that one,
Yeah, we'll go back there maybe.
and brought many babies into the world. You've worked hard and still do, and it's time to change that narrative again. So welcome, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to be here. So you guys can just ask me questions. I'm imagining that's how this will go, rather than I start talking. I'm not a slam guy, so
That word is beaten up a lot. You don't got to slam.
Can I take that one?
Yeah, man, go nuts.
The beautiful thing, the thing that I love about this podcast, or podcasting in general, is that we don't actually know how this is going to go, John.
that's perfect.
And we totally just get to create it right now and play.
Yeah.
So it's going to be awesome.
So play creation is started off actually as a message to be spread, because I had a couple of realizations, which we'll get into, that's why we're here, is simply to play and to create.
Message.
When I was getting ready to retire, I knew that I would have to come back to work to pay my way in retirement. I don't have I don't have a fancy pension from the government or education, or I worked in many different companies. So right now I have CPP and OAS, but I knew I would have to come back, and so I retired just before I turned 60, with the idea that I'll take a couple of years off and then come back. And I had two possibilities. One of them was play at creation, which was a name that came to me a few years earlier. And the other one was a project management e-mentorship thing. Project management for all my career. So I thought I would be helping organizations that don't have headcount for their dedicated project manager to do this. However, I realized I could only do one. I should only do one. And
You only wanted to do one.
No, I realized that I should focus on just one to do it well.
So you liked both, and you were excited about both?
Well, the project management e-mentorship was the one that was going to make money. The play at creation was a message. It started off as a blog. But it was much more important to spread that message. So I said, okay, fine. I'll do
So
play at creation.
This is beautiful, man. This is so great. Because, okay, I want to just go back, because Dave was like, there's two things. You really just wanted one. You said no. But I just find this super interesting, because like what I'm actually hearing is yes. Because over here, this is great. You can make money. But the way that you lit up, the way, like nobody can see this, where it's audio, the hand gestures, the mannerisms, you even looked up to the sky like it's a voice. It's the burning bush. There's something saying, no, you got to go over here. This is what you're up to, right?
Actually,
It's
but you have a
beautiful.
choice. Right?
No, you do absolutely have a
Hands
choice.
down.
Say,
But,
well, I'm going to do that.
but we know what sleeping's like on this side, right?
Yes. So I said, okay, fine. I have no idea how I'm going to make money at play at creation, but that's the thing we should do. So let's go. Let's do it. So I started off play at creation. The idea always was that I would reach out to boomers who are about to or recently retired, recently retired,
Sure.
and encourage us to start ventures because of the circumstance that I was in, right?
Right.
Knowing that my savings and investments are not going to last as long as I will. I tell everybody, if you're 60, 65, you're going to live to 100. There's a lot of stuff about to break over the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, right.
You need to say that, Wakefield.
So I said, okay, you need to create a venture to pay your way in retirement. So I went out before I kicked things off, and I interviewed a bunch of my peers and some other people to see if this is what they need. And I was surprised that this need to earn money dropped down to the bottom of the list. Now, most of my peers coming out of oil and gas, they were well set up. What rose to the top was to do something meaningful. Other things were to have joyful experiences, to rebuild your identity, because when you leave work, a big chunk of your identity is lost. Men typically will identify themselves by what they do.
Absolutely.
So, play at creation and this creation of ventures ended up being more about doing something meaningful, staying healthy, doing healthy stuff, healthy activity, having joyful experiences,
He's trying to be quiet and it's not working.
Okay. Well, that's okay.
No, I just saw John. He paused for 1 second, ripped the band-aid.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, my pen died. Sorry.
Identify a new, or create a new identity, okay, for yourself, and also do something that's going to give you some ongoing income. Always at the bottom. So the ongoing income, I mean, it could be like 25, 30.
It was a bonus though for most people.
It is a bonus for most, but there are a lot of people who have to have that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who continue to work because...
But they will not compromise anything else. It sounds like what I hear is they're not willing to compromise maybe what they had compromised before for that well-being, for that lifestyle piece.
Now we get a chance, and an image I've tried to share with people is when you open that door, call it retirement. I took to calling it rejuvenation, because you've paid your way through life internship. You've paid off your house, your kids are raised, and you're free. You can do whatever you want. It's like opening this door and you're on this great big field of possibilities.
Totally.
What do you want to do? So anyway,
I want to do that way sooner. That's what I want to do.
And people are starting to find ways to do that.
Absolutely.
So I thought I would be doing Your Venture, Your Game, which was the workshop series we created to have people examine what was going to make them happy, design a venture around those experiences that they want to have, and then create it. When we ran it a couple of times last year, and the promise was you're going to have a venture that's going to give you what you want, but we tried to do it in 3 months, which is totally inadequate.
That's pretty lofty.
Well, we usually love to put really intense timelines on things, and then
On the most meaningful things.
I have
usually.
no idea how this is going to work.
Yeah.
See, isn't that the thing though? It's like let's put a 3-month timeline on this thing that we have no idea how it works or what it does. We're gonna have it figured out in 3 months, man. I got this.
We got this.
It's great, dude. It's awesome.
So the next iteration...
How human of you, John.
I'm a project manager, though. I should know better.
Yeah, right.
You should know better,
Dude,
actually.
that nailed down. That's great.
So the next iteration of Your Venture, Your Game is being done with call. And we'll start in January this time and finish in December. Okay, so we're going to have a full quarter to have people figure out what is it that's going to make you happy going forward. What do you want to experience? You can choose whatever you want. Second quarter is, okay, let's design a venture that's going to give you those experiences. And then the second half is, okay, let's make it real now. So come December next year, I'll have people talking about where they started from, what experiences they want to have, and now what have they created.
Wow, that is so cool.
Is there like an initiation? Like, how do you get into the club?
Yeah.
Pay you $50 to call and
Damn.
So it's not like a gang beat-in like you'd see in East LA?
although I do
Way to take it to the extreme, Vern.
Well, I'm just saying. You said initiation.
I did call it a band of adventurers because
But they're very nice people. They won't hurt you.
What's interesting is that it's only been women who have expressed an interest.
I would
love
wager
that.
why.
No, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a piece that I'd like to help with. I don't know how, but...
What are you thinking?
I was
No?
surprised to hear that answer.
Oh, I'm actually not surprised to hear that
that
answer.
No, exactly.
But you're in it already. You're
Exactly.
ready.
You're in this room.
You understand it.
so-
Yes.
Most men, most boomers, male boomers, and I'm only just really profiling my dad right now. He's got it that he has to have it all figured out,
Yeah.
and that he doesn't need any help.
Right.
And so I'm just going to keep figuring it out and crashing and burning in the process.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a varied range of crashing and burning. They might actually be very excited about life.
Yeah, some of them, while they will be excited about life, they will have made things happen already. So that's why they don't.
But they're not
need
actually
this help.
addressing the thing that they really want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a true courage of like putting it on the table what you really want.
If you, I would argue and say that if you're the average North American person, there's a program running that you're not actually allowed to have what you really want. You're not actually entitled to that thing. I think the little kid inside a lot of people are a little afraid of the cookie jar.
That could be the Protestant ethic. but you have to work.
Yeah, you got to work hard to get it.
Right,
Nothing
you got
comes
to work
easy.
totally. And I had this conversation with another young guy today. I was thinking,
Sorry.
I guess I'm going to go down a rabbit hole, but about technology, and I will not do that.
Thanks, friend.
I'm really fascinated by this whole conversation. Actually, I'm really inspired by it because I think this is a big missing for people. Like, what actually makes you happy? So I'm reading a book right now. It's called "Don't Worry, Retire Happy." Mm-hmm. And what's great about this book, why I connect with it so well, is because it has nothing to do with numbers and market returns and this and that, all that bullshit. It has to do with like psychology and your why and what inspires you. And then you actually can formulate a lifestyle, obviously using some planning with the money part of it, but formulate a lifestyle now that gives you that happiness, that joy
that you choose.
Yeah, in the book it mentions money a couple times, but what it's been talking about is community, relationships, projects, inspiration, exercise, good food, travel. Like, that's what it's talking about. It's amazing.
And what you just listed, those are the experiences that we are here to savor. I don't know if you've noticed in my signature is savor. Is it savor life experiences or just savor life?
You're asking us?
Yeah, because you create it and then it just goes out.
Honestly, I don't know.
I love that.
The first thing that came up for me is savor the flavor, but that clearly isn't it.
It's savor life.
Hence the beard.
Okay.
I want to come back to something quick. I know Wakefield's just trembling over here.
Are you allowed to speak?
Oh, no, because what he does is he comes in. Usually, how it goes is he just comes in and drops something profound and wise and deep, and then he kind of goes away for a while.
And he drops the mic.
We're all just like, wow. But
what's there? Is there anything?
You want to say something? Go say.
There's that whole time element. You mentioned it when you said, how human of you, John, to put this time constraint on it. I know that a lot of everything that something I like to say to people is energy is all we are and time is all we've got. What are you going to do with your energy and the time that you have? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't take it really much further than that with people. Usually the conversation gets to that, and that's the period at the end of my sentence. But I do hear how there's got to be a balance in there, right? We're talking about the baby. There's a tick going on. And I don't know if it's a poem that I have read for you gentlemen before called Speed. And
I don't recall Speed
that sounds
yet.
So appropriate.
And it's about that duality with, living in the now and the future and the past, everything, and how we do it, how we deal with it. Push, 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 the hustle's on. Even with the hairbrush, we be on the rush. There is no time that waits for me. The notion is absurd, though I'll often entertain it. Every time I check my fucking clock, I wanna bring it, cause I'm late. Oh my God, I'm late, come on. And now I'm rushing through the race of life. I'm rushing to be racial, I'm rushing to my facial. I'm rushing like a Russian with a third world concussion. Cause economics up and made a rush to dust. As all things must when they move in a blur. I rush so fast I slur. I gotta move crass and make some promises. I gotta move faster so I can break them. Get your move on, get your groove on. Go lemmings, go lemmings, go, go, go. Move it, move it, move it. You gotta grab your gun, son's a man. You gotta kill quicker than the other man can. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So draw one on the chalkboards of their hearts and souls and minds and rule them out. Hurry! Oh my God, hurry up. Now these dogs are crying. Those kids are making noise. I got a souffle in the oven. The wife is coming home. I don't care if you didn't come yet, bitch. You gotta get the fuck out of here. They're gonna start without me. Now they're gonna start without me. And now this bus is stopping at a green light. He's not the next contestant on fastest flight. So come on down. Come on down. Quicker yo, work with gravity. Come and hang with us. For we are flakes of skin. And we are pocket lint. And we are dust bunnies the size of tumbleweed. But we once were warriors. And we once were Wall Street. And we once were the wind. But who had time to see us? Everything moved so fast.
So this is what we ask Wakefield to do, because you got a lot, and this is super appropriate.
Thanks,
Speed.
bro. That was unbelievable.
We ask him to pull out one of the more impactful elements of the piece and explain it a little bit. Start to pull it apart for people.
I just have to comment though how it's so funny. It's so amazing. It amazes me every time. You always have a piece
Yeah, it's so relevant.
that goes
Yeah.
like perfectly with the conversation we're having. It's
It's-
just like,
it's luck.
wow. It's
It's not luck, it's
not.
life.
It just
man.
happens to be
It's
sitting there. It's like,
appropriate,
hey,
and
that
it's-
sounds a lot like something I wrote.
it really
an element to it.
legitimizes the conversation. It's
Yes.
like, wow, this man's put time into thinking about this already. Many men are, many women are, people are.
What's the
Anyhow.
biggest takeaway out of that piece?
You know, well, what I should ask that to other people. Most of the time, I do that piece in under 1 minute and 9 seconds. That's why it's titled Speed. I literally shotgun that poem fast. But, you know, for the sake of being heard and understood, it's nice to slow things down.
Yeah.
It's really, I wrote the poem on the way to a poetry gig that I was late for. I was going
that's so
down
brilliant.
Bathurst Street, and the bus did stop at a green light because he was ahead of his schedule. So they stop at green lights to catch the time up to them so they're not ahead of. So the whole way from Bathurst and Shepherd, which is where I was living at the time, down to, I forget where the gig was at, but it had to be at Bathurst and Spadina, Queen, around there. I remember being at college. It was at college, and right across the street was, I can't remember the name of the bar. I can't remember the name of the bar right now. Sneaky Pete's.
No one knows these references. by
Yes,
the way.
yes. Everyone from Toronto, if you're listening, they remember. That's all irrelevant. I'm sorry. I digress. I was in a hurry. I had to get to this gig. I was on the mic. I was late.
Yeah,
It happens
perfect.
far too often, and a lot of times it's not your fault. It's just the way things are. Transit accidents, screws fall out of place, door slam on hands, whatever. But it just had me really anxious to be the featured performer and being late.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
As a project manager, I used to live that. Because you
You
set
live
dates,
and breathe it, man. Oh man.
If I've set a date, we're going to meet that date, no matter what. Nowadays, in fact, even coming here today, it was, how long is it going to take? I have no idea. Okay, I'll allow an hour. And in fact, I got you like 2 minutes ahead. But all through it, I was relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't get there in time, yeah, no big deal. And it's a different mindset that I've adopted in this last little while, which we may have time. You guys talked about a half an hour. We probably have finished the half hour already.
Well, from when we actually introduced the podcast, we're actually only 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got another 40 minutes to go.
So, John,
And it could very easily be a two-part series where we just
Okay.
break it
yeah,
apart.
because this might be who knows. You might have this all figured out, or this could be something to do some digging on. But you put a lot of time into making this really detailed, and I can feel the energy behind it. But what was the switch for you? Like, what's the why behind what you're doing? Because at first it started out as, hey, how am I going to supplement my retirement? Now that's like the furthest thing from the list, but it's going to be likely a result. So, what's the driver there?
So now we're getting into the real conversation.
That's
Okay.
what I'm talking about.
So I had a couple of realizations. One was a long time forming. And then the other one came very quickly. So I'll talk about the first one first. From when I was in high school, I read a lot of stories about near-death experiences. So much so that I said, okay, well, I accepted it. I believed it. When my wife was dying of cancer back in 2001, I used this to try and ease her passage over. I said, when you go over, you're going to be met by your mom, who had already died, my dad, who's already gone, and that's how it's going to be. That's what death is going to be for you. Later on, so this is a few years after, I asked the question to myself, what if all these stories, all these experiences that have been described, is the way things really work for us? Okay?
Say that one more time.
What if these experiences that have been described really is the way things work? Just like in physics, you heat up water, it gets to a certain temperature, it becomes gas.
Right.
What if when our bodies die, the consciousness goes on, which is millions of people have had this experience. Okay, so So first question: what if that is the way things are? Okay, fine. So if what they described is the way things really are, not for the near death. Near death is you get there, and you're told go back. You're not done yet. But in that journey, that they feel unconditional love, warmth. Everything is more vibrant. You know the answers to all the questions. You get back
love
home.
that.
That's great. This is really deep, man. I love this.
Now, if it's so great back home, this is the second question. Why do we come back? And the answer to that question came very quickly. It's to play. There's nobody to save, no lessons to learn. You know the answers to all the questions when you're back home anyway. So why would you come back?
I've heard that a few places.
Yeah.
That this is the opportunity to try something, do something.
We've got everything. It's all here.
Yeah, and you come back. Actually, I so the image here is what we see of each other. These are the avatars. Okay. You come back as a spark of consciousness. I'll talk about that in a second. And you use this avatar. So in video games now, when you are playing these massive games, you can create your avatar to play in the game, right?
Yep.
You give
Yes.
I'm a gamer. I'm aware.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yep.
you give it
I
magic,
too.
and you give it shield and whatever.
Yes, it's brilliant. I love it. All of it.
And so that's at this level. You, as the controller of that avatar, are having fun playing that game. Now, back off to the next level, which is the earth. Okay. And consciousness here playing as you and you and you and me. Okay.
Wow.
And when the body dies, consciousness, which has been experiencing limitation, and that's the game.
There's parameters of the game to play.
But every game that we create, we invent,
Yes.
involves overcoming a limitation, whether it's climbing a mountain,
Yes.
whether it's playing rugby, where we invent some rules and then a bunch of guys get together.
Fighting big monsters.
Fighting big monsters.
Boss level.
Or creating big monsters
And
to fight.
it's always, when you're in the midst of the game, is when you're most fully alive.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
When you climb a mountain, I'm not a climber, but I can imagine that you get to the top, you're euphoric about reaching the top.
Yeah.
But
It's fleeting.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that. I've heard runner's high is a real thing. I've never
Oh, yeah,
experienced
yeah,
it.
Yeah, that
but
is. That's physical.
right, but that's a perfect example. You don't get winner's high. You get runner's high. You don't get completion high. You get runner's high.
You get the completion high, but it's
Yeah, but-
momentary because the very first
Right.
question that comes is, "What's next?
Yeah.
What's the next?" one?"
Exactly. That's really interesting.
Go ahead, Wakefield.
There's this thing I call PPD, post-performance depression. And in the first few years, your effort and your reputation, these are them. If you're like me and you work at this, go, there goes your effort. This is your reputation, right? It's like this, turtle. And it's when it gets to the first time you walk in a place and someone goes, I've heard about you. That's when your reputation has met you. It's met your effort. The first time you walk into a place and someone goes, hey man, I heard. That's when you know that your effort and reputation have just synced for the first time. But the thing is, when you're on the stage, it really doesn't matter about your reputation or your effort. When you've got the mic, especially when you're a feature performer, that's it. The world's here. Coming off the mic. You're in the crowd, you're around the people, it's buzz, 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 buzz. One by one, people leave you. And now you're just left with what's next.
Yeah.
And I had big crashes at the beginning.
Wow.
It wasn't a bad thing, it was a learning thing.
What did you call it again?
PPD, post-performance depression.
Post-performance
I'd
depression.
come off of that mic and literally bring me the Hulk tear them to pieces. You know, I was feeling good, not all ego, feeling great, better than I've ever had, because poetry has saved my life. So it was the best I could feel, definitely, and it would last, and the people would be there, and other poets hit the mic, and I feel good about them, and it's all buzzing around. And then people leave you, and you're the only one with that vibe left, and it's not easy to keep up all by yourself.
The
right?
way you break that down, man, that is...
I can so relate to that.
I still get it once in a while, but I can recover very quickly, and I know what it is, and I don't let my head...
Yeah.
Because you can spiral into that, and I did a few times. I'm like, I just fucking killed it. What the fuck is wrong? I wasn't...
Yeah.
You know? Fleeting. Yeah, man. I called it PPD.
Wow.
Climb the mountain, get up there, and...
Looking down, being like, damn, I gotta go all the way down there.
If I want to feel this up again...
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it over again.
But in the climbing,
It's all in the climbing.
when you are on the side of that mountain,
Doing the Spider-Man.
you better be 110% there, because if not, you're gonna fall.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's when you feel most alive. I've used this example of a rugby game we were watching. This was France playing England in the World Cup. I think it was like 2007.
Go France.
Les Bleus. And so they had finished. France lost. And Chabal.
Sorry, Wake.
No, do you know Chabal?
By name, not up on it.
Anyway, he's like this big caveman, hair down to there, and a big guy. And he's on the field, on his knees, sobbing. And Johnny Wilkinson from the English team comes over and comforts him. And I thought that was so good, because those are the feelings you're meant to have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're really impacted by that.
I love that.
I can see it. What is it about that has it so present for you? That moment.
It's the only thing we take with us.
Is it the moment?
When we cross over? It's the relationships. It's what we've done with each other, to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that is love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are competitors
100%.
at the top of the world, but can take time to comfort each other.
Console one another.
Yeah.
Can I drop something in here, fellas? I just think this is so appropriate. Man, I am so moved. I got to tell you, these last few podcasts, I'm just profoundly touched, and that is my alarm. But I got to say, disagreements. So this is what's going on in the world. I had this conversation with somebody today. It's like if I pull out anything that we're really serious about and attached to, religion or politics or nationalism, just leave that there. I disagree with you. I don't like you because you're from this country or that political party or whatever. However, can I for a second? Matter of fact, I used to be. There's an athlete in here somewhere. I used to play a lot of rugby, played a lot of football. I had, not at that level, but I experienced those moments because it's relative when you're doing it. Mm-hmm. You're laying your stuff on the line and you're not getting paid. But I can look across, even at a young age, regardless of what color jersey the other guy was wearing. Don't like this kid. Stepped on my back, actually. Specific guy. On purpose. We made eye contact. But I can appreciate. I can have that, I appreciate, I don't want to hurt the guy. Personally, I'm not that kind of player. But if he gets hurt, I get hurt. I'm hurting for that kid because I don't want to see him get hurt. Mm-hmm. Right? I've had those moments with people I'm competing against. Can we get to the point in the world that we can disagree on our religious faith, our political faith, or whatever, but as a man-to-man, you have people in your life you love, you have those relationships you talked about, all those things that actually matter. Can I put that at the forefront of, now what can we do together? Let's put all that shit over here, because I was thinking about this earlier. Look at the two of you guys. He came in here earlier and talked about wanting to support people and give them a better journey as they cross over. Mm. It's amazing. And then what did you say? Oh, this is a good place for you to be. Wait till you hear what happened. And then you came out with that, and it's just like, fuck, man, week after week after week, people who are cut from different cloths, different worlds, different everything, come into this room. We have these conversations, and these amazing, profound things like this happen. These connections, the relatability, right? What I'm saying is, you and I can be friends, and there's probably 20 plus years between us. The likelihood of us being friends without creating a community, without creating a platform for us to connect, without starting a conversation, it's never going to happen.
And actually getting to the heart of what matters to you.
What matters?
So here's what's really interesting. When I ask for people's bios, I get a resume.
Yeah.
Because as you said before, we identify by what we do.
Yeah.
That's awesome, John. I know what you do now, and I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah.
And what I do care about are the segue follow-up questions. What were your challenges? What were your wins? What do you want people to know about you? And when people are given the opportunity to answer those questions, it's a wide spectrum. Either they're eager and they dig in, and John gave me a PDF, for fuck's sakes. Most people can just grapple a paragraph, right? There is so much more that I can now share if I allow myself and answer those questions. Mm-hmm. And that's what we all really want. We want to get to know one another, truly get to know one another, and get out of this facade of looking good and got my shit together. You know what I mean? I mean, it's ironic that it's the just life, get your shit together. There is a double play there.
Yeah.
Because it's actually not about. It's not about getting your shit together the way society would have you say you need to get your shit together. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. It's about this.
It's about owning your shit, really.
Yeah, and who you are and what you're up to. Vern has been grappling with this stuff. We all are in one way or another.
Shall we go a bit deeper?
You got the mic, my friend.
Okay. A couple of years ago, do you guys know Frank Moffat? Know the name Frank Moffat?
Rings a bell, but I'm not familiar.
He was the father of the Moffats.
That's why it rings a bell.
So anyway, I talked to him one time, and I was trying to explain some of the things that I wanted to do and play at creation. He didn't understand what I was saying. But he said, anyway, he said, John, figure out how you're going to tell people about this, because I want to put you on stage. So this was in February 2016. We were talking. June, I was going to get up on stage and talk.
Did you?
So I did.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
I didn't figure out things until the 2 weeks before. I went through many different
funny how that goes.
I wonder why that is.
Anyway, one of the things I wanted to create for people was the realization of how tiny we are. So I was watching, actually in preparing for this stuff, I came across a documentary about Stephen Hawking. And he had a couple of his student groups answer a couple of questions. One of them was, how large is the universe? So this would have been done like in 2015, 2014. And given the technology at that time, which is about the same as now, the universe is 200 billion galaxies.
I can't even fathom that number. I heard 200 and the rest is kind of like a whole bunch of
200
zeros.
billion galaxies.
Now, each galaxy has 200 to 400 billion stars.
Each star.
We cannot
and the magnitude of the stars and the planets, they're like...
How many? Let's just average one planet per star. But we know there's not just one satellite. There's several satellites per star.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it is crazy.
The juxtaposition was that size and then one Earth. Mm-hmm. And you are playing on Earth. So what are you going to do with this time? But take it even further. Have you heard of the pale blue dot?
Yes.
Okay.
Very
so
cool.
Carl Sagan did a little bit of an essay on this image of one of the satellites going out, turned around, took a picture of the Earth, and it's just a dust mote. It looks like it's in a ray of sunlight, but it's not actually a ray of sunlight. But anyway, so it's that little mote, and so Carl Sagan talked about everything that we've done, everything that's happened. Alexander the Great to to the guy who's got no legs, whatever, has happened on this little mote of dust. Now, so I created that. And then the question came after, why? Why is there a universe? Not how. The much more important questions are
Great timing there.
why? Why is there a universe? So I said, and this is the answer that came very quickly. And again, it starts with another supposition. Suppose consciousness is. Before the universe was, consciousness is. But consciousness, being omnipotent, omnipresent, being everything that
Always,
is,
all at once, all the time.
gets bored. Imagine a little 2-year-old. Right?
Yeah, it's a Star Trek
Gets
episode.
bored.
Like that.
Now, so consciousness goes, I want to have some fun. What'll I do? I know. I'll create a game board. And I'll go into the game board and play. Consciousness cannot experience limitation. How do you do that? Well, create a game and go into it. Go into it as you and you and you and me. So we are, the way I see us, we are each a spark of that ocean of consciousness, here simply to play, to experience limitation.
To experience limitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that consciousness cannot do
Yeah.
on where it is. And that's the reason the stories about near-death experiences are all the same about experiencing unconditional love, because when you cross over, you're going back to who you really are. You're going back to consciousness.
I have never heard any theory broken down, like about, consciousness or man or where you go out in the afterlife. I don't know where you got that from, but I've never heard anything. First of all, it makes so much goddamn sense. Pardon my reference. That is amazing. That makes so much sense to me. And I'm like, wow, I'm ready to follow you at the Church of John.
The Buddha said, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him.
No, that was. Well, sorry. Did you say if the Buddha said if you meet the Buddha?
If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. I don't know where I read this, but it's out there.
I've heard that too.
That's
because you are consciousness, and you can speak with a big I consciousness, or the little I John.
This is the game. Absolutely. It is being able to play at all of those levels and like create what's possible. Not be limited by the limitations. Create new limitations to work towards. Break those limitations. That's what we are always inspired by when we see the greatest athletes and the Olympians and where all this has come from, right? Like the origin story of this, the hero's journey.
Yeah, I haven't given much thought to that. Other people have mentioned to me about the hero's journey and so on, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, keep it simple. I mean, you are here to play. So, and it helps me understand some of the things, like the burning bush, for instance. When Moses talks to the burning bush, it's supposed to be God, and says, what's your name? And I can just see the eyebrow going up, going, I don't have a name. I am.
right.
I understand what I am means. And when you talk, if you could see me as another piece of you, when you are the big I, and if you take that mindset, if you say, okay, I am consciousness, experiencing this as John, or as you,
Right.
it starts changing how you interact with people. I mean, you can't take offense anymore.
Right.
The significance of
Yeah,
it.
that you just kind of let everything go and be like, yeah, well, that's just John, experiencing
being
John.
John.
That's whatever,
He's being him.
Sometimes
And then when we
John
go
does
back,
that.
in fact, I'll tell you what my goal for player creation is.
Awesome. I'd love to hear it.
Okay. the goal, and this comes from both these realizations. So my goal is that Play It Creation, that we inspire and support 1,000 players who create these ventures, so that when we meet on the other side, around the proverbial campfire or a beer, they go, John, that was so cool. That's so much. I'm so glad you got me to do that. Let's go back and do it again.
That is like...
Did you have a little bit?
What's that?
Did you have a little bit before the podcast?
That doesn't matter, man.
Hey,
Are you in the room?
no, how it impacts is here. The only reason I bring that up is it's another inhibitor remover,
right.
if willing, right?
But I'm just so connected to this on so many different levels.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Because we've talked about a lot of different things.
Shit.
And a lot of different shit.
Cool shit.
Cool shit. Do you give a fuck about cool shit? Well, come on, join us at the Just Like.
Totally.
That's why John's here. But that is like a whole, literally a universal level of legacy. You left something here on Earth, but you're now connecting on the other side, and people telling you or beings, right? Telling you how cool that was. That vision for your legacy is just as profound to me. That's inspiring.
I don't think of legacy.
Or
it's just,
insert English word, whatever word you want to use.
What I believe what we take across is the relationships, the experiences that we share together. You can't take money, but you can take that. Because when you're over there, you've experienced all this stuff. Right? And we will, at one point, we will get together and have this conversation, continue it on the other side. And say, John, did you realize how full of crap you were?
You had it all wrong, John.
No idea how it works, but it's always coming from the why. Why are we doing this? Well, okay, that's why. And I have no way of proving this.
And it doesn't need to be proven. There's no need for
proof. That's right. It doesn't need to be proven.
Well, for some people, not. There will be others go, get off of here. But
that's only because they're not willing yet.
That's just their experience of consciousness in their life, John. No, I'm just teasing. You just said something that I thought was really cool. You said that you can't take money with you. And we've all heard that. I think that's really awesome. But you said you take your experiences and your relationships with you. Yep. So what you can take with you, this inspires the hell out of me. You can take your experience of money with you.
Yes.
How did you, what did you experience? Oh, wow. That's like right here.
Vern's super inspired tonight.
That is so like...
So for consciousness to experience... Taking this experience of money, for instance. So you could have, say, Trump's mansion with golden toilets and faucets and stuff like this. Or you could be a beggar on the street. Mm-hmm. From consciousness point of view, both those experiences are equally valuable. Mm-hmm. Right? When we have experiences that are good, that we call good, or if we have experiences that are bad, from consciousness point of view, it's still feeling, it's still experiencing.
Yeah.
And they are equally valid. Suck on that for a bit.
Can I just give you a little bit of context here, my friend? Because you're making several references to my response over here, and there's nothing wrong. But I've had a very interesting week.
This is the perfect conversation, really. Yeah,
and so that is why I'm so moved. And what's interesting is that...
Create some context. Because you've been grappling with something.
Yeah, so I'll give you one example, and there's a lot behind this. So yesterday, I wept like...
A little boy.
Very intensely with my little boy. With him on my lap as we hugged. With my daughter and my wife in the kitchen. They're having a moment. There was obviously a whole thing that led up to this. So I was dealing with my own stuff. I have a lot of stuff going on just in life, and I'm making them very significant. I'm making them very heavy, making it matter a lot. And I've been on this long journey, and that's how it's felt the whole time. Like I've got this stuff going on and all this stuff, right? So now that's built up and everything. And so what ended up happening is I allowed my work to push me beyond a time limit that I set for myself because I committed to being with my family. So then what I was now getting angry that I was angry about, I was angry that I wasn't with my family and didn't commit to my word, and I missed this time with my kids. And then I was angry that I was angry about that, and I was angry that I couldn't fucking put that down so I could just go, now I'm going to enjoy the rest of the time that I have to be with my kids. And I'm literally angry that I'm aware of it because I'm fucking having this conversation with myself at the fucking time. So that's how deep generally speaking, most of the time I can be present and grounded and clear about what's actually happening. And sometimes I experience a loss of control also, right? And this was one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I can see this happening, and that's not helping that I can see this happening, right? So then I finally get to the point, I'm like, it's all good. This is actually, by the way, there isn't this much emotion happening while it's happening either. And that's also part of the conversation. It's significant for a reason. Because I'm actually trying to fucking hold it together. I'm trying to be like, okay, let's make a stop motion camera, bud. Let's make a stop motion video. And here I am doing the thing that you have to be the most methodical and meticulous and patient with. You know what I mean? Trying to be with that. And then all of a sudden my daughter is she's rattling the table with the camera. And my son, I can see, God bless him, he's being so patient. He's just, every time she does it, he just takes a deep breath, right? It's amazing. And I'm looking and I'm going, honey, and I'm trying to help him, help her, help us. And anyway, my daughter reacted the way she reacted, and that created a little bit of a rift. Okay? So this is where we get to that. Now, while I'm grappling with all of this, I'm now going, oh, well, this is certainly not going the way that we would not want it to go, would it? And my son, I can see, again, he's being a rock right now, is really impressed. But he's not getting the experience that he wants. And my daughter's clearly not getting the experience that she wants. And I'm not getting the experience that I want. So I started to have a breakdown. My son's like, oh, Dad, what's going on? Don't be sad, Puts his hand on my shoulder, sits on my lap. Is everything cool? And he starts to cry. I don't want you to be sad, Dad. Gives me a hug. And then I just let go. I was just started to cry. But I actually had a huge knot in my throat. So even though anyone looking would think that I was uncontrollably weeping, I was actually fighting it the entire time.
Yeah, totally.
And I said to my son, he goes, Dad, what's going on? I said, look, this has nothing to do with what's going on here. But I said, I love you so much. I love your sister. I'm not mad at her. I said, right now, bud, I'm actually trying to be vulnerable with you. And I realize I actually don't fucking know how to do this. I don't know how to be a man even, because my father was very limited in my life. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to show emotion. I don't know how to teach you how to do that. I don't know how to be good husband, take care of my daughter. And then I looked at him and I was like, and guess what, buddy? And I'm like crying. I'm like, that's actually okay. It's fucking perfectly fine. It's totally cool. And I want you to see this. I want you to know that it's okay for you to show your emotion. And then, and that was a cool conversation, but that was awesome. But the peak of it, actually, I went to the kitchen to see how my daughter's doing, just to see what's up. And my wife turned to me and she said, I think you should answer this question, babe. And I said, what question? And then she said, well, your daughter wants to know if this is her fault. Oh, man. So I picked her up and I squeezed her, a responsible force, not a violent force. And I said, baby, I love you so much. This is not your fault. I said, it's actually never your fault. I said, you got to get that you are so smart and so sweet, and I'm so inspired by every time I look at you. I'm like, this is not your fault. And everything that's going on is perfectly fine, because you know what? This is a conversation we actually needed to have. Because everyone in this house has a difficult time showing their emotions. And no wonder why. My wife is like, she's wound up tighter than a snare drum, how tight she wants to just keep everything together. And then what happens is these massive overflowing breakdowns. Like, what would it be like if we were just authentic and able to share my emotions? Today I was having a conversation and I was talking about the podcast, talking about this conversation. And I said, actually, I'm kind of experiencing a bit of anxiety as I talk to you guys right now. And I don't even know where it just, I just dropped it. And they were like, oh, wow. And I was like, yeah, you know, it's taken me a lot of work and effort and being with people to get to the point where I can have a conversation with someone and go, I'm actually just a little bit anxious right now. I would never call that out. And it felt so freeing. It kind of went away, oddly enough. So anyway, that's why there's so much inside this conversation. That's just an example, right?
And there was one thing that Vern didn't get a chance to share. And I love these. They're very, very good lights, by the way. And there was this thing that he was grappling with, and it was inside of a why. Why am I? What's the point? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why does it matter? Why is it so hard?
I was even saying things like, why are we here? Why are we in this, playing this game called the city of Calgary, Canada? Why are we, this is ridiculous actually. That's what I was getting, I was like, I had just a really open, I actually forgot about that. I really just, sometimes I'm able to call David. David is the one person that I can call, and he doesn't tolerate it, that's part of the reason why I call, but I could actually call David, I'm clear, and I could just be completely, let's say, air quote, normal, and just fucking bitch. I could complain, actually. Because he's not going to tolerate, but I could actually just freely speak, because he's not going to now go, wow, I didn't know Vern was like that. You know, like,
well, that you know of. Anyways.
Yeah, right. Like when he hangs the phone, he's like, but anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here. But yeah, we had that conversation, and that's what I was kind of grappling with, because I had all these things that were happening that drove me up here, and I was like, literally, I was like this. The mall on Tuesday with my family again. I was dealing with something with business, and I'm like, just. Such a victim mentality started to show up. This isn't common for me. I'm getting to the point where I'm just like, you know, it's like, oh, and then, you know, one more. I'm like, man, what the fuck? Can something just work? Can we just get a break, right? But just, right, that was Tuesday. And then probably had that conversation with you on like a Wednesday, and then whatever happened on Thursday, then I have that thing with my family, or Wednesday, sorry, this is Thursday, and now I'm here tonight. And I had an interesting day today too. It was like a hangover of all of that.
Wow, nice.
But then, and the crazy thing is, when I'm talking about everything with these guys, I generally, John, get really uncomfortable when I have a commitment in the evening. I really don't like to go out in the evening. I don't like to leave my house, especially if I'm home all day and I have to go somewhere. If I'm out all day and I have to do something in the evening, I dread it, because I want to get home. I want to relax. I want to get to my family, right? I was at this event today, and I was talking about life and whatever in the podcast. And I was like, in fact, I'm so looking forward to this podcast tonight. And that came out of nowhere. I was just like, yeah, I am looking forward to this. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So anyway, I'm gonna leave that there, and this is probably why. Maybe that's some kind of intuition. So John,
hands down, man.
Thank you for being here, man.
Well, it's really this whole attitude about play. If you realize that you're in this game and it is just play, experiment, try stuff. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't work. You go, oh, isn't that cool? Let's try something else. Or when things start piling up. Okay, things are piling up. How do we de-stress it? And again, just think of playing. I mean, none of this stuff is actually real. I've actually wondered if I should be sharing this with people, because it's like, if you're at a movie, so we all went to a movie, and it's a tearjerker, where you start crying, and I'm trying to comfort you, and I'm saying, don't worry, it's just a movie. It brings the intensity from there down to here. Now, if I say to you, guys, don't worry. I mean, this is all just play. It's not real. Am I doing you a disservice? Am I doing consciousness a disservice because I'm lessening the intensity of the experience for you?
Wow. I mean, that's you fucked if you do, you fucked if you don't.
I don't know, John. I love that because you're such a deep thinker, and that's another reason. Like, there's certain people I connect with because they actually go down the rabbit hole, and like where you're going, I'm like, holy shit, a competitor. No, it's great, but hold on, I want to come back to this point. So if I'm experiencing life as Tuesday, right? If I'm experiencing life as Tuesday, that's pretty significant, right? That's a significant experience. So consciousness is experiencing that. So what if John comes along and I have a really good relationship with John, and in that moment John's there, or I just remember we rewrite Tuesday, and I'm on the phone getting this thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, this reminds me of like, you know, second quarter, heading toward halftime, Vern just threw an interception. Oh boy, what's going to be the halftime speech? Like, what if that was my life? That's what I'm talking about. Now consciousness is experiencing, oh boy, just threw an interception. I'm in Chinook Mall, by the way, speaking out fucking loud. I don't give a shit. You know what? I'm going to sit right here and just sit right on the floor in Chinook Mall and have this conversation. Like, what about that experience? I think you're just shifting the significance of it. You're shifting consciousness's experience as opposed to diminishing it.
Yeah. Pointing people to what could actually make a bigger, more meaningful impact. Versus getting caught up in the thing that's really not going to make any difference.
Can you imagine if everybody made decisions knowing that they're going to meet on the other side, the people impacted by that decision? And this actually doesn't.
I love that.
This doesn't take it to the extreme where I, consciousness, will experience what you've experienced because of what John did to you. But we are the same. We're not two different beings. We are the same being. The facets, the sparks of which have come back together again.
Is that understanding? It's like, if we're, let's just assume, let's say we're the same. And now we've done something to each other or for each other or whatever. And now, let's say it's a good thing. Now we're going to get to the other side. And you now get to experience the memory of what I experienced.
Not just the memory, but to experience everything. Because I am you.
Right. You experienced it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just think of, when we were kids and you played cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers or something, right?
Yeah.
People will say, okay, you be the cop this time and I'll be the robber. And we go and shoot each other and stuff like that. It's the same thing. Before we come back here, we go, okay, this time you be the bad guy and I'll be the good guy.
Let's set the game up.
Wow.
And then you go back home and go, oh, that was pretty cool. Let's go back and do something else. I'll be the mother this time. You be the fucking son.
Wow, John does have a more darker side. I love it. You know what I would love to do? I think this would be super relevant. We're coming up on 90 minutes.
Okay.
It's not recording. Not since we introduced the podcast.
Okay.
We're more like 60 minutes for that. However, Wakefield's been very quiet. But I've also seen you get a lot. I've felt the ahas over there, or the connections, the relatedness. I just love to hear from you.
Little thing said, you mentioned Carl Sagan, you mentioned Stephen Hawking, and then there's Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know who that is?
Yes.
Okay, you know Neil? Okay, good. He's a hero of mine, for obvious reason. I heard him in an interview, and he was asked a question. He said, someone asked me this question once, and I had no trouble answering it. He said, Neil, if you could live forever, would you? He said, no. And everyone has asked themselves that question since you could figure out that concept when you were little. Oh, living forever. He said, never. I'd never do it. And when the question went out, I immediately said no, not knowing why. It was a knee jerk. Would you leave? Nope. Right there in me, it was there. But I didn't have the reason. I just knew. And he says, because I know I'm finite. Basically, he said, I've got shit to do. Mm-hmm. And I've got a finite time to get it done. I want to do things that are going to stay in the world, be good for the world, to the world. He wants, not with ego, not ego driven, but he realizes the gifts that he has that he can give to the world. So he wants to do as much as he can. He says, if I always have tomorrow, shit will never get done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing that came up. Another thing that came up, there were so many. I honestly, that's... Oh, when you said that you had that lump in your throat. I know what that lump's about, and it's funny, I don't get that lump very often anymore. As I've been speaking, if you get what I mean, I think something came... And here's the connection I'm trying to make. Someone once said to me, the reason you get a lump in your throat, this is everyone's belief systems getting thrown around. The reason you get a lump in your throat is because what's in your head, what's in your mouth, and what's in your stomach don't sync. What's in your heart, what's in your stomach, what's in your head, what's in your throat, they don't sync up. And that's why you get the lump. The words don't want to come. They're not ready. You're not synced up. A lot of people say that's what that lump is. It is there because literally this is not synced to spill. Another thing that came up, and I can't remember it, and I say I can't, and all of a sudden it'll be there, but not this time. But those were the two things. Those are the two things.
I love how you're walking us through that whole
that did
process.
Pop up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really great. I had no idea. This is why this.
I know.
Okay, go.
I'm sorry.
Awesome.
John. You talked about those players on the field. I'm a martial artist. I'm pretty good. And I studied under Grandmaster George Lepin in Toronto. And he's Cree. So because he is so high in the Taekwondo world and with the World Martial Arts Union, he had the opportunity as an indigenous man to design his own martial art. Because a martial art is only national to the country that designs it. 30 million plus people study international Taekwondo and World Taekwondo. But its origin is Korea, South Korea. So Canada does not have a national martial art. Little do Canadians know, yes, we do. And it's called Okichita. And because I was so good learning under Taekwondo, he taught it to me. He taught 10 of us. And then 10 of us got to go to South Korea.
Cool.
For the 7th Jeongju International Martial Arts Festival. And there's 32 countries. The best fighters on those teams got to go. This is Canada's first time there. We're with 31 other teams, and I'm referencing to your story about the men on the field showing compassion and crying and being vulnerable. 32 countries worth of fighters representing their country. There's a lot of ego out there. There's a lot of id out there. It's all out there. These are fighters. We're all fighters. You should have seen how many of us cried at the end of 2 weeks when we had to leave each other. Because most of us couldn't speak to each other. We couldn't even speak each other's languages. We had to communicate somehow to teach. We had hand-to-hand combat demos with each other. Them using their stuff on us, using our stuff on them, and them teaching us and us teaching them. It's fighting. It's hands-on people you don't know and will never see again. And we can hurt each other. And it was all like how you said in the last 2 days. There's nothing but warriors weeping everywhere. Everywhere. After seeing people get knocked out, seeing things get broken, in demos, and just seeing the athleticism and all the heart and soul and everything that goes into being the top, watching everyone kind of break down. We're never going to do this again with each other. That was something that I was able to experience. And now I'm done.
That's so great.
So that is the connection. One of the images that I would like people to have is that you might think that you are conscious. You have a consciousness inside of you. Where does it reside? What if you turn that around? What if you don't have consciousness, but consciousness has you? Remember I referred to consciousness playing the avatar. So imagine if instead of consciousness being inside you, there is an outer glow, which is consciousness, playing the Wakefield avatar. And then especially when you're close together and you have these kinds of conversations, you could almost see the consciousness melding. Right? And so, and that's why you feel those things. It's consciousness recognizes itself.
So you're up to a few things. How can somebody find you? How can somebody reach you if they want to also go down the rabbit hole?
John at Play at Creation.
John, I think this is appropriate. We might be looking for some speakers soon at an event that we're going to put on sometime in 2019, sometime soon. I think that's how that's going to go. So would you be interested in sharing some of this message?
Sure. The only hesitation I have is that when I share this message closely, it comes across. When I speak to an audience, it may not.
Yeah, I can hear that.
And I think, okay, sure.
I mean, I'll still go and say it. And a lot of people may think I'm a fool, which is okay.
Remember,
you don't look like a stressed out
It's
fool.
just a game.
Exactly.
It's just a game, guys.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Because we could talk about this like we could talk about any of our episodes forever. I am leaving with something so rich today. Like the emotion is just because I got to keep my shit together. Is the story I got running, but it's like just underneath the surface, and it is inspired action. This is what I call it when I know that there's something and I'm excited about what it's going to generate for me. And I'm super thankful and grateful that we actually got to spend this time with you, John, because it was really magical. And we'll have you again for sure. We'll have another conversation. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So that's episode 52.